pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you everybody for attending this hearing. We will call this hearing to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. And our first order of business is to hear the presentation.
Welcome, everyone. It's nice to see you out here. It's fun to be in this room again for a board meeting. It smells a little sulfury. I think it's the battery that's charging over there. It's all good. We're all safe. It's wonderful. The information that I share tonight, if you've been following along for the last several months, it's going to be very similar, and so I won't make this a very long presentation. We'll give opportunities for you to ask questions, to speak, because this is really about you. This is an opportunity for the board to hear from you as it pertains to these warrant articles or these proposed warrant articles. And so after this, you'll see that this presentation will be online, and we're always open for, if you have questions, to set up a meeting and talk in person as well, and look at things from whatever questions you have, but look at things deeper or from a different perspective. We're always happy to do that as well. So I'll get started. This is a picture right here. It's a graph that we show every year, add on to it, of total staffing. Our staffing that we're proposing for next year is less than what we have this year and was less than, quite a bit less than what we had the previous year. As you're aware, we did have a reduction that it was passed, a reduction from the proposed budget last year that was that we are now operating under. And in that process, several positions were removed from the budget. There were some positions that were put back into our funding for this year through our overage funds that we had retained, and so those are gone, all but about $30,000 of it. But that we were able to pay for the pre-K, which was about 7.5 individuals, teachers and paraprofessionals, about 7.5 individuals. And then also athletics activities, which did have some personnel in there, but also a lot of other aspects to that. And then a librarian and a French teacher over at the high school, middle school. And so some of those positions you'll see will be in the proposed budget again. There are many positions that were removed that are not going back into the proposed budget. Enrollment, we expect that it's going to be in a similar fashion of what we've had this year and last year. NESDEC, when we get our enrollments, the company that does our enrollments over years, is projecting that we will continue to decrease a little bit. There are some changes happening within the communities relative to housing in the next several years and so forth, so we could see something different. Maybe if further businesses come and so forth, that can change. But right now, if all things were to stay the same, we would expect to see around 1,000 individuals. This slide right here is a picture of from year to year. We're always almost a year behind in the whole picture, so next year we'll kind of understand what this year was like, which would mean that we probably have a much lower cost per pupil coming that year, but we're right in the middle of the pack in this region. And we'll get to the warrant articles. Article 1, similar to what we have every year, to choose the following school district officers. A, one moderator for a 1-year term. B, one Ringe school board member for a 3-year term. C, one Jaffrey School Board member for a 3-year term. And I'll read this bottom portion right here for those who are listening online and here as well. Persons interested in being a candidate for school district offices may file starting Wednesday, January 21st, 2026. The deadline for filing is 5 p.m. on Friday, January 30th, 2026. Persons wishing to file should contact the school district at 532-8122. And Wednesday, January 21st is next Wednesday. I expect floods of individuals. Article 2. Shall the school district vote to raise and appropriate as an operating budget, not including appropriations by special warrant articles and other appropriations voted separately, the amount set forth on the budget posted with the warrant or as amended by vote of the first session, for the purposes set forth therein, totaling $33,500,000. Should this article be defeated, the default budget shall be $31,991,442, which is the same as last year, with certain adjustments required by previous action of the school district or by law, or the governing body, may hold one special meeting in accordance with RSA 40:13, 10, and 16 to take up the issue of the revised operating budget only. And then below, you can see we haven't gotten to the point where the school board has recommended or not recommended this article. That is happening after the hearing. And then you can stick around for that, just kind of a preview. And then the Jaffrey estimated tax rates and the Rindge estimated tax rates are below. Some goals that we have, really we had some goals last year, and I'm proud of the fact that we continued despite a pretty tumultuous time. We retained and identified and recruited highly qualified educators who were committed to our institutional values and philosophy. Our staff retention in the last several years has been incredibly strong. We have an amazing dedicated staff, and we are attracting individuals who are seeking out our school system because of what we have become and are continuing to become. We lost several individuals through cuts, and they all were able to find jobs in other areas, and we stay in contact with them, and they come by for games and for plays and things of that nature because we're connected. It's sad to see them go, but we're happy for their success. And we can feel proud that they grew as educators here, and that because of the work that we did here and with them and the family that they had here, they were able to inspire the lives of other children elsewhere too. The second budget priority last year, and we're just kind of continuing it this year, is to ensure current initiatives continue on. Educational improvement. Last year, at the end of the year, you know that we were recognized as the high school of excellence in the state of New Hampshire, so an award that is not given out every single year. That there is quite a process that goes along with that, and you have to actually be able to show that you are a school that is of excellence. I know that Mr. Dustin just got more information today of some great news about student athletes who are New Hampshire scholars, and the numbers of seniors that are there. Seems to be increasing every year. AP recognition, lots of things continue to increase and improve, and we want to be able to do that. And we need to be able to do that for our kids and for our families and our community here at Jaffrey Rindge. The default budget summary. By law, we have to talk about the default budget. The default budget is the prior year's adopted budget with some reductions, as we said before in that warrant article. If there's some one-time expenses, those don't go in. We do keep anything that is required by law, collective bargaining agreements, things of that nature go into the default budget. If there are contractual needs or items such as healthcare, dental insurance, if those are in those JREA and JRSSA contracts that are negotiated and are brought forth through other warrant articles, that gets put into the default budget. And then there's some debt service that goes away, other contracted services, retiree buybacks we have in one of the, in a JREA, 1 or 2 usually a year if we have retirees. That's in the contract, and that's, people retire that one time and then it doesn't happen again. That's why it's a one-time expense. This is just a picture of some of that same information about looking at the default budget, and then above that, the proposed budget that the board has put forth at this point. Another picture that shows the differences in approved budgets, and that green one is green and not blue because it hasn't been approved, but that's what's being put forward as the proposed budget. This year's proposed budget is less than what the board proposed last year. This slide here shows that the red is our adopted budget, what we're operating with this year. That red does not include the 1.2 million on top of that, that is being used to, roughly 1.2 million, that is used to put those other items back into the school the operation for this year, such as activities. We call them activities, understand that some people don't understand what that all means to us, so activities, we also can put that aside and say activities and athletics. We focus on a diverse set of experiences for all learners and make sure that they all have opportunities to participate in things that inspire them and build community. And then the pre-K, universal access to pre-K, which is an amazing item that this school district has, that we are all very proud of having. It's a forward-thinking model. I know that when, in talking with Susan Shaw Sarles, who was the principal of Jaffrey Grade School several years ago, she was very proud of the fact that Jaffrey and Ringe was one of the first school districts in the region to go with a full-day kindergarten. And we are one of the first, if not the first, in the region, and one, really really ahead of the game throughout the state in the area of pre-K. There's a lot of conversation, even on the national scene, about early childhood learning and making sure that it is affordable so that parents can work, so that their kids are safe, and so that they can build stronger communities. And in Jaffrey and Ringe, right now, is doing its part better than others. Be proud of that. And then the default budget is that purple line. That's the $31,991,442. So very similar to actually what we're functioning with this year when you include the retainage that we had from the previous years, set in reserves. And then the proposed budget, the difference really is, for the most part, apart from perhaps some other increases in the area of health insurance and some mandatory positions that we need to put in because of the new education regulations that have been passed, the Ed 306s, for what an adequate education is. By and large, it's keeping things status quo. $33,500,000 is a status quo budget that includes contractual obligations. That will always bring something up a little bit. And again, status quo meaning not status quo to what was in the adopted budget, but was in the adopted budget and what we're paying with the retainage that we used. This is a graph that we share every year. It's been as low as 68% personnel and as high as 80% personnel throughout the last decade. And so it usually hovers around that 75%. But you have everything else, transportation, supplies, trips, that is not part of the transportation, such as entry fees and so forth. And then 72% is everything that is personnel, health insurance, retirement, taxes, things of that nature. Some notable changes, certainly not all the changes. All that you can go online and see a more broken down version of all of this, and it gets into more detail. Couple different artifacts on there that will help you to perhaps see things from different perspectives. But these are some notable changes, many of which are similar to what we would have every single year. We're proud that we had a 3-year contract at JREA CBA. We've been able to be competitive in the region, and that's always a challenge, especially after COVID. The world has changed. Everything's been different since then from a financial standpoint, but we have retained great teachers, and we will have the 3rd year of that contract next year. And so that will be a negotiation year for the JREA. Health and dental increases, that's for both JREA and JRSSA combined. Those are those contractual pieces I said would be included in the default budget. We have some raises for everyone else who is not within an association, multiple positions across the district. Pre-K 12 activities, we said, was going to be added back into the budget. There were conversations for those who have not been able to follow along. There was quite a bit of dialogue. Should we put this item back into the budget, or should we put us on a warrant article? And we do know that we value activities, athletics. We value the learning that happens after the formal learning of school, and what helps people be well-rounded individuals and build skills that are important for life and for their own well-being. And so because if we, let's say, as an example, the voters said, yeah, we passed a warrant with athletics, great. It would go into the adopted budget, become part of the operating budget, but it would not then would not have an opportunity, would not be a chance to be part of the default budget the next year. And so you would have to continue to do that year after year. So as a practical matter, if we think this is important, it should be in the budget. Similarly, the exact same conversation is around 4-year-old pre-K. And so that's how the board arrived with putting those items into the budget as opposed to having them as separate warrant articles. Clearly, if we did not have that $1 million put into this part, you would see a shrinking of that amount difference between the default budget and the proposed budget. Now, we also got hit with a $585,000 unexpected health insurance bill that several schools across the district, they didn't all have 585, some had more, some had less. So we had that in the default budget. It is something that we were allowed to, and actually were encouraged to put in the default budget because we have to pay it, and the payment has to happen by next year, and we didn't have it budgeted for this year. And we could have used our retainage funds, but we didn't have that left anymore either. We've worked hard. We think we're figuring out a way to do it. We're committed to paying that off this year. We were able to use some retainage from last year that came through, about $139,000. We paid another $50,000 or $60,000 just before December 31st and signed a document saying that we would get it done by July 15th of 2026, so that we wouldn't incur another $12,000 to $15,000 in interest. And so we're working on that. That is not in this budget for next year. We're taking care of that the best we can this year. If we end up coming a little short, which very well may happen, then we'll deal with that at the beginning of the year, but at least we won't have to take $500,000 from the start of the funds when we don't have cash flow to be able to do that. So that's good. Assistant Superintendent of Learning Systems, when we talked about priorities, what we wanted, and there's a lot of reasons, there's a lot of conversation around why this is important. One reason is because one of the positions we lost within this past year was the facilities director. So, I spend a lot of time working with the facilities, and Carrie as well. We have different skill sets, so it works that way, and Kristen works with us as well, Kristen Testagrossa in the central office. And we have a great team, small team. Our team also decreased, from last year, so they're busy all the time, but we've been able to get a lot of work done this year, and we anticipate getting a lot of work done the second half of the year as well. And when we can find funds, we do something. Learning systems is a broad term for a lot of what we don't have formally, that most schools do have within their SAU structures and support structures. We don't have a curriculum director. We don't have a facilities director. There are a couple other things that we're lacking, but those two major items are crucial to the ongoing improvement of our learning systems and structures for our kids, what is necessary for them to have in order for them to have the resources they need and for them to thrive. And so rather than getting two individuals, we said, listen, we got to find someone with really strong management skills and some good creative skills, good executive functioning skills, knowledge of curriculum, and the ability to at least learn how to be stronger with those facilities areas. We have a lot of internal capacity within the individuals who are working in our system. So, and we have spent this year improving our relationships with our vendors, adding to our vendors, building local partnerships and so forth to be able to do that, and make sure that we have a good, strong future with our facilities improvements and maintenance. I guess you'd say you're maintaining what we have over the next several years. The board did all of this and more, adding into that budget did come up to more than $33,500,000. It came to $33,800,000 and some change thousand. And so the board, which put it very, very close to what we had proposed last year. The board felt that number just wasn't where that they were envisioning it. We had been able to cut back. That activities number was over $600,000 before. We've been able to shave it back quite a bit. We were able to, we removed some facilities items such as paint and carpeting entirely. At this point in time for next year, we did that this year, do it next year. If we find that we have some funds here and there, we are able to take care of things when we can. But we understand that, we can only do so much. And we had done a lot of painting in our buildings over the last year, thankfully, and we're getting ahead of the game, which was the goal, to get ahead. But we'll be fine for another year in that respect. And so that, and they asked me to find some other areas of savings. So they reduced the budget at $308,077 from there. So right now, we have not identified where all that's coming from. $250,000 of that does mean personnel, unless we find another solution. What's not in this presentation right now is that we are actively looking at a variety of solutions, one of which is to address the healthcare debacle that we had with school care this year and make sure that something like that doesn't happen again. So we have contacted a broker, we're working with them, we will be meeting with them tomorrow to find out what they have found given all of our information that we gave to them. It is possible that we could find better healthcare. It is possible. We don't know. It could also find that we're not going to get anything. But we wanted to make sure we look. We feel it was important for us to do so, and it was our duty to do so. And so if we find that we can get something comparable or better than where we're at, and also at a lesser price, then we may be able to solve this issue even for, at least for next year with that. So we're excited to hear about some possibilities. And then, of course, if we do that, we have a lot of very quick work that we have to do with a lot of different groups of people. And so we already have a meeting set up for Tuesday afternoon to meet with all of the groups that we would have to in order to get this started, or look for different solutions in the future. We're at the end of Article 1 and 2, and typically what we do during this time frame is we after every article, we give an opportunity for public feedback, questions, so forth of the board. And I didn't do that after Article 1 because you can't change it, the board can't change it, and you just need to sign up to be a board member. That's really what you need to do. Okay. Article 2, if anyone has anything, I'll pass it over to Lisa. Thank you. Yep.
And actually, at this point, could I actually have the screen? I think from now I can run through the warrant.
Okay.
Well done. Industrial strength. Good? Okay. So at this point, we're going to open it up for our public comments, and we'll do that for each of the articles going through. So the first one will be about our proposed budget. I would like you to note, hopefully you grabbed an agenda and you see these. The board spent time this year creating some norms for expectations of both how we speak and respond, and how we would expect the public to. And so I will read these, and then you should have them as well. To facilitate healthy discourse and positive outcomes, the board approves the following norms. Speakers have the right to present information and responses without interruption or interjection. Questions from the community regarding budget line items, which would include today's operating budget, need to be submitted in writing to the board chair to give time in the session for full review. So what that looks like is if you have a question on a specific amount, like if you want to come up and say, okay, how much does this piece cost, and get more details on a certain piece of it, then I would ask you to use your agenda. We left spaces, and write down that budget line item, pretty much anything that has to go to our finance person. The point is that what we were finding in previous years is that our employees were getting bombarded with immediate answers, and it just added to an environment that felt more aggressive than it was necessary. So we're going to have things written down clearly. If you need a pen, I have it up here. And so I that's what I got up and grabbed, was a second pen. So if you need one, come and grab one. And if you could bring me, state your question, then bring it to me. And then Ruben will take a look at it, see if it's something he can answer best, or if we send it to Kerry. So I hope that makes sense. Responses from both sides of the table will be based on factual evidence. If the board feels the information presented is false, it will respond appropriately. And that's put in there because previously we had a policy where we simply listened and didn't respond right off the bat, and we found that that also created the environment of great misunderstanding. All right, proxy comments will not be permitted, so you can't get up and say, well, my sister-in-law's second cousin wanted me to ask this. Time limits are set for public speaking. The board decides who speaks next, not the audience. So you can't get up and say, I cede my time to this person. All comments will be directed to the board only, not to audience members. Personal attacks are not permitted. Address the issue, not the person. The board chair reserves the right to recess the meeting as needed. And these are all fall in line with our full public comments found on policy BEDH. Let me go back to the time limits real quick. So one of the reasons why I wanted the screen was I'm going to be splitting my screen. And for now, I'm going to be splitting my screen, she says confidently. She's so technological. All right. So I'll keep that up. I have a nice little screen with a timer that I use with my kids at the school because I'm a school librarian. So this is my Google timer I put up all the time. So it does have a nasty sound. Let me turn that off too. Okay, I hate the sound on it. Okay, so it is a 2-minute timer. If we find as a board that we would like to extend this time, we absolutely can do that. So this is our great practice run for deliberative people. So to speak, we do need you to come to the microphone. We do need you to state your name and the town that you live in. And per policy, only Jaffrey and Ringe residents, adults can speak unless the board gives permission outside of that. So let's say you're a teacher who doesn't live in the district, you would need to get permission from us to speak. Let's say you're under 18, you would also need to get our permission, and then we would vote to say if we were going to permit that. Make sense? Cool beans. Okay. I'm going to put that up, but the second thing I actually want to put up as well is this. Where'd my timer go? Don't do that to me. Okay, here we go. All right, so the reason I want to put this up, this is on our website on the budget, under our school board minutes and agendas. Our board did something rather extraordinary. I spend a lot of time watching other school boards in the state, and I do not see anyone doing this. We took our budget conversations out of the budget season and started it the month after the deliberative session. So we just said, we need to get all the information as absolutely transparent as possible, put it in video so people can watch it, rewatch it, and we even took the sections that deal with what our departments are out of our meetings, which were generally 4 hours long. If you are, I will do an aside, if you are considering being a Jaffrey Ringe board member, our meetings generally have been running 4 hours long, twice a month. That's not including the committee meetings that also have been running and the extra time that we've been doing.
Lisa, that's not really a good
Every
advertisement
single
for
time.
getting any of these people to want to do
Watch
that.
them.
We talked about this. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. 4 hours.
Yeah. For a long time.
Yeah. All right, so the reason that's up there is because if you look over on the far right, you will see our presentations about food. The food service one is not dedicated on this side, though that was in the July, I believe. So I think it was because it was a private organization that we contract with, so we didn't have that. But there's an incredible food service one in the July minutes. Okay. Now, I believe I've said my piece. Who would like to start the ball rolling? Okay, if you have a question, then you actually do need to come up to the microphone because we are live streaming on video, so you still would have to come up to the microphone and state all that, even if it's for clarification of the meeting. I would need you to come up to the microphone.
Forbes Farmer, and I'm from Ringe. I wanted to have you address a little bit your second goal of educational improvement. I wondered how you intend to measure that, and what specific items in the budget you have added to this budget that particularly address that. And my second question, kind of unrelated, is that it seems like most of us were rather surprised at how things went last year at the deliberative session and wondered if you guys are prepared if something like that were to happen again.
Okay, so Forbes, let me just make sure I'm understanding, because there were three things. Can you wait for the third? Because I was writing for the, so the first one was about evaluating our educational progress, basically, and how we measure that. And the second one was what is budgeted toward that goal, correct?
Yes.
And then tell me the third again?
The third one was, are you prepared, is the board prepared, if something like what happened last year at the deliberative session in terms of the massive reduction by $3 million, if something like that were to happen again?
I can answer that one really quickly. Absolutely not. There was no way to prepare for a $3 million cut. And there's no way that we could prepare for that again. That would take another, again, 4 hours of meetings multiple times a month to be able to completely change how education is done here. So there's no, I mean, I do want to answer that real quick. Thank you for that. I saw a social media post recently saying they want to put that same money back. And I was like, do you not get it? That money wasn't extra. We actually needed it. Like, we don't have choices in a lot of this stuff. It wasn't, that isn't miscellaneous money. Like, we actually needed it. And funnily enough, we need some more. This is the business. And so to answer the first pieces of your question, Forbes, I can start with piece of it, and then I want to turn it over to Ruben real quick. So, and yes, I failed first try. Thank you. Who here noticed I did not put the stupid timer on? I'm really trying, folks. All right, get the timer off. All right. If you notice here, we did a data presentation, but honestly, some of your question is also answered in other areas, but I believe it was the data presentation that talked about our testing and how we evaluate. And it talked about both the single-day evaluations that the state requires, the statewide assessment, as well as the SATs and PSATs, which every student has to take now per state requirements. But it also talked about AIMSweb, and I'm watching behind you. David is behind you, and I'm just looking for nods in case I get things wrong. So it also talked about AIMSweb, which is our progressive evaluation system, which takes kids over time and can really see, targets each individual kid and helps them be able to see further of, okay, these are areas of specific individualized need that they need to get better in. And so those areas we get to see quarterly of the growth that happens, and then year by year. So there's multiple avenues that we have for evaluation. This presentation, I think, was an hour and a half, so we don't want to go into too much detail on it. But now I'll turn it over to Ruben to fill in those quick blanks.
Yeah, the
Or
point,
to
if I may.
John.
I thank you for your answer to Forbes' last question about are we prepared or what are we doing to prepare. I just would say that what I've seen is many people in the community who are trying to be prepared in case something happens like what happened last year at deliberative. And, you know, what happened was a group of people who felt that taxes were a really big issue and who I don't think understood why taxes are so high. They collectively got together and they came out in strength. And I think I've seen hundreds of people in the community who support education and who also know that it's not our school district's fault that taxes are so high. They've been talking to their neighbors, they've been coming together in groups of people, and does that mean we're prepared? Well, no, can't say that, but I think a lot of people have done a lot of work to be prepared and to try to get their neighbors out for the deliberative session and for the March vote.
Thank you, John. All right, Ruben, could you address, because I do think that this is valuable to spend some time on, how that goal number 2, where that kind of that funding goes into it. Is that something you can?
Well, simply put, everything in the budget that we have is very intentional to the goals that we have and to get to reach the aspirations of the strategic design that you were part of almost 10 years ago. I remember you being there. It was great. And I think that when we look at maybe some tangible items, for instance, adding a teacher back in the middle school to support the math and literacy learning, you actually, literacy in particular, from the standpoint of we had last year started a K through 8 program and implementation, and we've been doing a great job with the implementation. It's quite a rigorous set of curriculum and the expectations that we have, but we need to have more support in the teaching realm. So some personnel are put in there for that. Likewise, at the one of the elementary schools that does not have a reading specialist, so by law, we need to have a reading specialist, and to also support that exact thread of the learning that we would want to improve upon. That would happen at the Jaffrey Grade School. We will be putting professional development into place because we are going to be starting work on mathematics K through 8 as well in a more unified fashion. There has been work that has been intentionally done over the last several years at the middle school and at the elementary school, but not coming together. And so we have recognized our some weaknesses that we have, especially in the area of mathematics in various pockets. Some of that's within that data presentation that you're talking about. So we are a school district that is, I would say, getting close to having a culture of data. I think we have some work to do still, but we are working very hard to making sure that we're looking at that and finding out the reasons why and then improving ourselves. We've got a great group of people who do that. So when we look at the budget, all of those salaries and benefits, that 72% of the budget is going to the most phenomenal staff that is in this entire region. So that's a big piece. The other...
Just put your hand up at me.
Yeah, no. Hey, be a school board member, hang out with me, 4 hours long. So from an academic standpoint, also Forbes, and this ties in with another warrant article down the road when we talk about an open enrollment school, the secondary school is committed to, without adding staff, utilizing its internal resources, its people, its human resources, who are very skilled, and are adding at least 6 AP courses next year to the high school. And then with a plan to add, I believe, 2 or 3 more the following year, and maybe more will be up. We may be a school that has the most in the entire region soon. We certainly are, for our size, well above where most people are at. I'll let the school advertise and tell people themselves. I will say that they were just recognized for their excellence in AP for this coming year. That is something that we have not had, or at least had in a long time. And so that's one step. We're not satisfied with that step. We want to go, we want to continue to climb. Our policies and practices that we've developed over the past 8 years are allowing more individuals to access that higher level and more thought-provoking educational experiences, and when they engage in that rigorous learning and critical thinking, they are able to have a better shot at achieving on those state assessments as well, those single-time assessments, which do have some value to them, certainly, and certainly they have public perception value. You put your hand up and tell me to stop? No, it's okay.
Sit next to me.
I know.
All right. All right. I'm going to put the timer up again. I really need to try to get this right.
For me.
I didn't say that.
I get excited.
Okay. Please, come out, Claudia.
Hi, Claudia Stewart Ringe. I have 2 questions. How many children are in the pre-K? And of the 1,000 students that you expect to have incoming this year, how many families does that actually represent?
Say that second one again.
Of the 1,000 students you anticipate coming in the new year, how many families does that represent?
I don't know that we would have that number. So for the number of pre-K, let's delineate between, okay, so the numbers are on the screen. Guess what we need? On your spreadsheet, okay. That one, give me a second, so it's going up in the screen. And we're at this one? Okay. So pre-K to 12 enrollment. And the pre-K is in the lower section, right here? 87? Okay. So you got that, Claudia?
No, I can't see that. How many?
Oh, so on the screen, it is 87
87 students are in pre-K
projected, yep.
projected. And we don't know how many families actually send their children here? Is that something you could find out for me?
Yeah, I believe we could.
Thank you.
I mean, I will look, because I do have access to the student information system, so I'll go through that as we speak and see if I can find it, but, and I might be able to text someone for that.
Modern technology. Thank you.
Good, thank you, Claudia. I've literally never heard that question, and I'm very curious now. Okay. Next. And again, this is about the proposed budget.
Hey, Lisa, been a while. How are you?
Hey, Dan, long time no see.
Dan Whitney, Ringe. I put the clock on. Some people think I get a little past 2 minutes.
I'm not giving you that job. You can beg me, I'm not giving you the job of the clock taker.
So first, thank you. I have some idea how much fun it is to put a budget together. Not as much, I've had fun a lot of years, but not as much fun as you've had this year. Number two, having a budget hearing where we say we're not really going to talk about budget lines, I got to admit that throws me off. I can see in your regular meetings, but at a budget hearing, it just doesn't feel right. Next,
Hang on one second, what do you mean not talking
you
about
had
budget
the
lines?
piece, if you go, you wanted questions in writing,
Yeah,
and particularly if it was going to be about a budget line.
yes,
This is a budget hearing.
yes.
You kind of have to allow some direct questions where possible.
Yes, I want those direct questions. We have the people here to answer them. They might not be able to be answered, such as in Ruben's case, right when you're standing there. Please have them and please write that question down, give it to me so we can get it to the right person to answer.
Okay.
It will be answered tonight, if possible.
All right,
So,
now hit the 2
yes.
minutes. Ready? 25, 50, 25. 25% of the people in these two towns will vote to support any budget the school district puts forth. Reasonably. 25% of the people in these two towns believe that no matter what number is put forth, it's going to be too high. Most of the time, the board is put together, the community is put together, and you've won the majority of the 50 in the middle. Last year, the vote took place in a perfect storm. Doge was taking place everywhere. It was the item on people's minds for the deliberative session, and then the day of the vote. That's not the case this time. But you still need to get more of those people in the middle. And when I read through the pieces that are here, if I was in the middle, I would be set and voted against the budget last year. My question would be, when I see, and I did appreciate your explanation on the assistant superintendent, but not everybody's going to hear that. You know they vote on a bottom line figure. 1.25 assistant principals. How does that show that you also heard their concerns? Making those choices. I'm not saying that they're not legitimate, but I have some friends who spend a lot of time with me on the town side, and they know I say this all the time. The best budget that doesn't pass is still a bad budget. You can't afford to do default again. The town can't afford to do default again either, but that's a story for another night that we've spent together. I'm asking for the people who aren't right behind us. What do you say to them? Thank you.
Yeah, so, well done, look at the clock.
Been there, done that.
Yeah, okay. So I am going to direct you back here, Dan.
Okay.
I don't know if you have, I don't know who watches these. I know that a lot of these have had more than 1,000 views, the presentations that we've been doing. Most board meetings are not 4 hours, but on other school boards, and even in previous school boards. We chose this year to answer that question. We had our principals before us so many times. We had our department heads before us. We had every person that has a large line item come before us and say, what do you do? And what can you show for it? All of that information are in these dozens of hours. So it's not something that any of us could sit here and give you a one-shot answer. It's not a soundbite. It's not a social media post. We have spent too much time articulating every cent that is spent, every cent that comes in from the state, every cent that comes in from the U.S. government, and every cent that comes in from the taxpayers. We've outlined it all. So please, before the deliberative session, take the time to watch these videos. Learn what we do. These are evidence-based. These are not opinions, people. You know, we grilled people up here. We certainly fought up here. Okay? This was not easy. So please take the time to read these through. And you will get many answers. If you still have questions that aren't answered here, please ask them. But do it before the deliberative so that we know more what's coming. Because, Dan, I will say personally, I disagree with you. I think we're in exactly the same type of environment.
I'm going to try and be a little more hopeful. I'll die with a smile on my face.
Lisa? Other board comments allowed?
Yes, please.
Okay, so first of all, I'd just like to say thank you for the question. Good question. And you know, I'm not agreeing with or disagreeing with people's every point, but I will say I do agree it's the people in the middle, the 50% of the people who don't know about education, like those of us who are on boards or who have kids, and who, you know, care about our towns, but they're in the middle and they're waiting to be convinced. And so I think we do need to convince those people. And yeah, I would love to have them watch some of these presentations, but I know they're not going to do it. They're too busy with their lives. And so somehow we have to get the information out to them on these key points, I think. And so I just thank you for the, okay, that's all.
I will say one more piece to that, John. I believe that there is a publication going out prior to, what, Ruben? Is it prior to the deliberative or is it prior to the actual vote?
We'll have two publications, but prior to, we'll have one prior to, we'll have some information come out always prior to deliberative, but also there's information such as the voter's guide that will go out a certain time frame before the vote, that we have a small window we're allowed to do that, and there will be a newsletter that will go out to express more information. And that does go to everyone. People do have to read it. We do put sometimes information to links of other types of information that they have. We're sort of an open book. We give everything out to people. It's and we do our best, but we also, we're willing to sit down and have conversations, one-on-one, small groups, be invited to places. I'm happy to go on the road and do that. This district matters, and what we do matters. And we are all up here. We are fiscal conservatives up here. That does not mean cut. That's not smart. I understand it is perhaps relief for some groups of people, but it's cutting our noses off despite our faces. We have to think about how we can understand what the future is going to hold from an increase standpoint and mitigate against that as we go forward. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to, some tangible things, we're trying to look at our healthcare. That we can't in good conscience say that, yeah, we have a good grasp on that right now after what just happened. So let's try to make sure that that's better for the future. Other things, yeah, we're not putting back almost probably $1.8 million worth of cuts that we made last year. Those are gone. Some elements of that are back in different ways because of the Ed 306 changes, which is the minimum standards. So we are putting some positions in there at the high school, like we didn't have a business teacher. We have to have a business program now. We don't have a business program. We have to put that in. So that does cost another $85,000, $90,000 that we're putting in on those. But we by and large kept most of the cuts in or out, I should say. And we're trying to take the big pieces that were lost, that are more programmatic in nature, that are crucial to the academic, education, and health and wellness, mental health and wellness as well, and wellness for the community, such as the pre-K and the activities and so forth, that really help create a school environment, and what research will say will help a community down the road by educating your youth at a very young age, while at the same time helping their parents economically. Those are smart things. Those are the things we're doing in this budget.
Anything further on the budget?
Kathy Kozlowski, Ringe. Dan, I heard clearly what you said.
Hang on,
about-
Kathy, I do have to stop you. Remember, we're
Oh,
only
right,
addressing
I'm
the board.
sorry.
You're good. You've been
Okay.
a lot of these meetings.
Okay,
It's tempting.
okay.
It's tempting.
The question about the assistant superintendent, I had even questioned Ruben whether the timing would be good for this. Now I understand the position. All I saw at the beginning was assistant superintendent. And I think if more of an explanation could be given for what this position holds and the importance of the position. But I think there would also be benefit for people to know comparable school districts to us who have assistant principals and assistant superintendents, and what our staff is doing in these solo roles, really filling two roles.
Thank you, Kathy. That actually wouldn't be a bad graphic at some point to show because all of them are doing more than two roles at this point. So, to have a graphic that shows the school districts that have a communications director, that have a grant writer, that have facilities directors, that have curriculum coordinators, that have assistant superintendents separate from those pieces. And those are our rural districts around us, having those roles, that have a separate, completely separate position for after-school coordinators. These are all rural district roles, not pie-in-the-sky urban center ones. So I think that probably would be a really good graphic to have on hand to add to our presentations, to show this is what we are currently trying to subsist by. Because we've been cutting positions and our admin roles have been consolidating for the last 10 years. 10 years ago, we had assistant superintendent, we had Title I coordinator type of things, we had, the McGinty, is it McGinty? McKinney-Vento dealing with homelessness. We had people doing truancy, and now all the principals and the superintendent have taken all those on. So I think that would be an excellent graphic to include and maybe compare it to some other districts for that. So thank you for that, Kathy.
I do have an answer for Claudia.
Yep, Claudia.
So a couple different things came my way. Our student information system indicates that we have 845 households with at least one student in it. And then our principal here at the Ringe Memorial School was able to give me some information because preschool or pre-K, we have to look at it in a couple different ways. We have 3-year-old, and that has regular ed and special ed components to it. And then we have the 4-year-old full day, full week programs. And so for those 4-year-old pre-K ones, we have about 60 and then about another 56 to 60 in the other group as well. So almost 120 separate individuals, ages 3 and 4. Mostly 4.
Anything further for the budget?
Judy Unger Clark, Ringe. I remember the discussion concerning putting in the warrant, as a warrant article, the activities and the pre-K. On your slide, I believe it was titled Notable Changes. The items in red were the pre-K and the activities. Should we be going to a default budget? Are those red items the things that will be cut?
Show me which slide.
Yep. Nope.
Down or up? All right.
So pre-K ceases. The default comes into place. What will happen to those 2 items?
All right. Everybody see this? These 2 items, the pre-K to 12 activities, which was paid out of the retainage funds, $589,384. And the full-day for 4-year-old pre-K was also paid out of the retainage funds, $479,892, these are not in the default, these are in the proposed. So Judy's question is, what happens should the default come on? Right?
Those items aren't in the default budget. That is why those items were, after a lot of discussion, were chosen to be putting into the proposed budget instead of warrant articles. Because it's odd, it would be weird, perhaps, unusual is a better word, to have a school that did not have that type of programming. It wouldn't seem like a school, maybe, that you'd want to attend. And so with that in mind, the school board, as their number one goal per policy, is to advocate for the kids' education, do what's best for them. And they believe that what is best for them is to give them a shot at having this be part of a budget, annual budget. And so rather than doing which is, it was a good discussion, give people choice, give that warrant article that way, but if it goes in and becomes part of what's called an adopted budget, okay, it would be added to whatever gets passed on Article 2, if it were a separate budget, then it still wouldn't be part of the default the next year. So we either have to keep on doing warrant article after warrant article after warrant article every year, wondering if we're going to have a program or not, or we have to say, this was important. We felt it was important this year to use up every ounce of reserve fund, we called it emergency funds in here. We felt it was an emergency. And so the board made that decision, and they're making the decision to put that into the proposed budget.
And I have 2 answers to that as well. It took me a minute. One is, I do want to just do a slight correction on Ruben's statement about taking it out of the warrant article idea. For a long time in November and December, the board talked about having those 2 items be separate warrant articles. And at those meetings, we also had a Jaffrey representative for a budget advisory named Gary Arcisi, and I really appreciate him coming to those meetings. He listened carefully, and he thought that the warrant articles were a good idea, to keep these 2 items as warrant articles. And at that meeting where he stated that, we had numerous community members, both in person and online, come and say that they felt that we were taking that vote away from them by doing that we were taking the choice away from the people by putting them into warrant articles. And everyone, all of them said that. And I know for me, who actually proposed first that they should be warrant articles, for me, that's what swayed me. And we had a lot of discussion at that meeting in December. And the board voted to put it back into the proposed budget, but I believe it was the community members that really made that happen. We can't say, if we went to the default budget, and I think this is probably where Judy's question is, there is no way for the board to say, right now, what will have to be removed should the default pass and not the proposed budget. The extent of the cuts are too broad. We'd have to go right back to the drawing table. So there's no way to say we could never have pre-K if the default budget passes. I don't see how it's possible, but that's not for us to say. That's not something that we can guarantee. It's not something we can say. What we're saying is that the people have spoken and said, we want this number on the table. The board has spoken and said, cut $300,000 from that number. So we're already asking for budget, for personnel cuts, because at this point, that has to be where it comes from. So we don't know what will happen to athletics and activities should the default pass. We don't know what will happen to preschool should the default pass. We don't know what will happen to our classroom sizes should the default pass. We don't know what will happen to our busing and our food service. We don't know, and we won't. We simply see the numbers and say, okay, that's what we got. Where to now? At the same time, the state says, shouldn't go here, you realize that how much money we lost with the adequacy funds that the state said we don't need anymore? Is it $800,000, $900,000 the state removed from our adequacy funds? That's based solely on enrollment and property taxes. We have hit by every property valuation. We are hit every single way with this. So we don't have any guarantees, and I know that I'm sounding discouraging. I get it. This has been something I've been living with for a long time now. But we're simply giving you the numbers. This is what we have. Okay. We do have one person online who has a question or a comment. Two people. Please state your name and town of residence.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. My name is Ken Rosbach. I live in Ringe. And I had a question about, I guess, kind of funding resources. Last year after the vote, I think I had asked if there was going to be any effort made to try and raise funds outside of the tax system. And then I was told that, well, that wouldn't work because of the way the budget works. It would be too late to incorporate any funds you could raise into that last year's budget. Now we're going into next year, and I guess I'm kind of curious, like, it seems like, whether anybody likes it or not, it seems like we're kind of running up against the limit of what people in the towns are willing to pay for education. And I appreciate the work you guys are doing to be responsible and make sure you're only putting in stuff that you think is absolutely essential. But if we're kind of hitting that limit, has there been in the last several months any effort to consider maybe spending some effort trying to raise resources outside of the tax system, which seems to be getting to the limit of what it's willing to bear?
Lisa?
Yes.
So I don't have a complete answer to that, but I can tell you that there are groups within the community that have tried to respond to the cuts. For example, and I forgive me if I get this name wrong, but there's a group called the Jaffrey Community Center, I believe, who decided that since many of the school trips had been canceled for lack of money to pay for the transportation, they came forward with a significant chunk of money to pay for, I think, 12 or 15 field trips, the transportation part of it. And forgive me, I don't know the numbers, but I think it was in the $25,000 range, maybe. But anyway, it was significant, and they're paying for school trips So that's an example of one group. I know the Rotary paid for a school trip for the transportation to bring the chorus to a Rotary meeting. And I think there are probably other groups in the community.
Parent groups, parent groups.
Yes, parent groups and,
Kids at RMS, their actual student council raised money for themselves.
yeah.
I think you meant the Jaffrey Ridge Education Association? Is that the group?
They
that you did?
also,
They also funded, yeah.
yeah.
And I know
individuals.
Harris Center did an incredible thing of really of donating their time and their teaching and doing extensive work with our kids. That was incredible. And there was a donation for robotics. Yep.
Yep.
We've received some grants, and we have applied for grants and received them. Even, they're not huge. I applied for and received a Millipore Sigma grant for $12,500. So we have put some work in it, to fundraise and do that sort of thing, and to grant write full-time. That requires personnel, that requires a sizable investment and so forth, but there has been a concerted effort to do those sorts of things. Certainly partnering as well, continuing our partnerships with Franklin Pierce University, Keene State, and other places like that provide us some other types of resources that are perhaps not money, but they give us programming that we would have to usually pay for.
Inquiry
With our
scholars.
Inquiry Scholars, that's a growing program, as well as the Writing Nest that was implemented, that now I heard that 22 fourth and fifth graders are signed up at Jaffrey Grade School for the Writing Nest, and that will happen there for the first time ever. And so good things are happening that way without expending more funds. But things continue to get more expensive.
If I can, I'd just like to add one more point, and this is something that I think in part responds to Dan's question about an assistant superintendent. Our administrative team really has been structured by the administration with Ruben's leadership to support educational achievement. And Ruben just referred to grants. I've seen this team, including our finance team and our assistant principals and our superintendent, put together grant applications and be successful at what I would call an incredible rate. And one of the ones that was approved last year, and we almost thought it was going to be defunded after it was approved, was for multi-tiered systems of support. Now, that sounds like jargon to me, right? But it's an important part of trying to help all of our learners, right? Because we want to help the advanced placement type students, right? But we also want to help the students who aren't at the level for advanced placement. So multi-tiered systems of support, I believe the grant that was awarded was $1.25 million, is that correct?
250,000?
Per year.
Yeah, so about 270, well, we're waiting for our second allocation right now. We have to finish up some data implementation or input for them. We had 275 for last year. We will have some carryover funds because they gave it to us so late. And we anticipate getting another 250 to 275 this year, specifically for that purpose, but that is something that, should we be able to get that, we can utilize to help with our work going forward, certainly, and to help answer Forbes' question about school improvement. That's an area that we are, have been focusing on for quite some time. But these funds would give us the boost, and we'd be able to, help our staff structure, I think, in doing so.
And
Over 5 years, yeah.
$275,000 a year is serious money, obviously. And the administrative people to provide that support are we should be very proud of them. And a lot of times, we're just not aware of it. As average citizens, we're just not aware of some of the achievements.
All right, and was there somebody else online?
Pat Martin, Ringe.
Could I ask you to please repeat your name again? I think we cut off.
Pat Martin in
Hi, Pat.
Ringe.
Thank you.
So I originally believed in the idea of the warrant articles I spoke in favor of that, but on reflection, the after-school activities, they can't exist on their own. They really need, the whole school atmosphere and community behind them. So I do agree they belong in the budget. And also, if they got voted down, it means no. And it would seem like then there couldn't be any activities or sports, no matter where the money came from.
Hi, Kat. Yeah, the meeting where we discussed that is in December, and I think just that discussion was probably 3 hours of that one. That was a fight. Not an ugly fight, just internal. This is a difficult thing, and thank you for that. Thank you for that comment, Kat. Did you have a question with it, or was that a supportive question? A supportive message? Nothing? Okay. Thank you, Kat.
I think I was muted again, but I was just trying to be supportive. Yeah, I'm just trying to be supportive of that decision.
Thank you. That's very kind. All right. All good? Ready to move on? Don't want to leave anything on the floor? Okay. Oh, that one.
Carlene Walter from Ringe. I'm just looking at the MS 2026 here. And the 3 lines, it says all administration, school administration service, and business. That's roughly $2.6 million. How many people, how many personnel does that represent, and what exactly are in those budget lines?
Okay. So is that a good written question?
I don't know, did Carrie, were you able to get that question?
Could you do me a favor, Carlene? Could you,
Write it down.
would you mind writing it down, but could you actually repeat it? I don't know
Sure.
why we didn't hear it clearly.
The 3 line items on the MS 2026.
MS 2026.
MS DSB, yes. So this is what you're anticipating would be spent in 2026, correct? 2025, 2026.
Yep.
So the 3 lines for all administration, school administration service, and the business line under the executive administration, roughly, and I just did this in my head, but the 2.6 million, I was just wondering how many personnel that represents and what exactly, I mean, there aren't any specifics as what that covers. So just kind of a general idea of what kind of expenses are in those.
Okay, so would that really solely be personnel in that line? Carrie, would have that?
I'd want.
Okay, would you mind terribly, we will get the answer to you tonight.
Okay.
Okay, even as we move on. So if you wouldn't mind, and I think it's fine if you bring that right to Kerry. Thank you so much, Carlene. Okay, so while that gets written up and we get that information, that was a really good question. Let's move on to our next warrant article. Where am I going? There. Do you want to back?
No, I don't need it unless you want. If you, I can do this, or if you want to.
Okay.
But if you.
Yeah,
Okay.
to make changes. So now.
If you,
yes,
yes.
perfect.
And I don't know if you want to do that at the end or one by one.
I do. And so no, let's do it one by one. So that makes really good sense. Let's go to the board and let's ask each if anybody has any changes to the warrant article that I'm putting up on the screen now. Article 2. Okay, so I put it up on the screen, and we'll go person by person. And this is not the vote, this is asking for changes. So let's start with Sandy. We have Sandy online. Sandy, do you propose any changes to Article 2?
No, I do not. Article 2 is fine the way it is.
Thank you. Chris?
No.
John?
No.
Charlie?
No.
Judy?
No.
Okay, and I say no. Thank you so much. We're moving on. Again, that was not a vote, that was going article by article. Article 3 is for our Jefferson Ridge Cooperative School District Support Staff Association. We went through a long and quality period for renewing this collective bargaining agreement, and it became ratified at a meeting that did not last 4 hours on Monday. And so this is, Ruben, can you speak to this a little bit?
Sure. So there's a presentation that you can look at. It's very exciting. I can pull it up if you'd like. 35 slides. Most of it's language. So there's a lot of language that was negotiated in this last contract. We actually spent very little time, comparatively speaking, on the financial side of things. Certainly, we are very aware of the market and what we need in order to attract and keep individuals. That was one of our goals. And so we did come to an agreement that both the JRSSA, that's our Support Staff Association, that includes a lot of different types of positions in there. So you have your secretaries, your administrative assistants, you have your paraprofessionals, both special ed paraprofessionals, some regular ed paraprofessionals, library paraprofessionals, custodians, maintenance, grounds, anyone supporting the systems of this educational school system, in those ways is in that bargaining unit. So we came to a 3-year agreement, again, between the board and the association, and I've put this on the warrant article. This is something actually that now the board has voted in favor of to put on the warrant article, and it's been ratified by the Support Staff Association. These numbers can't be changed, but that's something that you can see, and you can see the tax information down below on that. I think the next couple slides will show the first year.
Better?
Yep.
Sorry. I just wanted you to see the tax rate clearer. That better? And you guys, I think, have that. Okay. And then the next slide.
The next slide is just, I only included the financials here as opposed to the language, because again, there's a lot of language, working conditions, things like that. Some have money, have some monetary value to them, but really nothing compared to what is right here. And so you can see that this, in order to get to this, with the number of individuals that work in the school system in this bargaining unit, with a 5.3% overall increase, it was basically that occurred by adding 25 cents to the base. That's what happens when you add 25 cents. So instead of having 17.75 as the starting point, it was 17.50 before. And so, of course, it goes all the way through the system. Then the next one is at a 4.57%, and that was a 50 cents to the base. And then that one is 75 cents to the base at a 5 even. And so we really worked to get that 5% increase basically year over year overall. For this particular group, we had some goals as a board about where we wanted our starting salaries to be for the purpose of attracting individuals. We know what the market is out there and what it needs to be. And so we think that we were able to at least stay in that ballpark. And then also I know that the association had their goals, and I think we both came together for an agreement that met both goals.
Any public discussion on warrant article 3? I'll try to make this bigger. As
The estimated tax increase is for the first year. That is what would be raised and appropriated.
Right, so the total raised and appropriated for this year is $236,283. That's right here and here, and then the next 2 years are also listed.
Hi, Allison Marr from Ringe, and I just would be remiss if I didn't mention this, but today at RMS we had 5 paraprofessionals out, a secretary and an administrative assistant out. I'm guessing holiday traveling and everyone coming back together and sharing germs probably played into that. But their absence was very much felt today. Our team came together really well, but we appreciate them every day. But I feel like on days like today where they are not here, we realize just how incredibly important they are to our system. And I hope that voters reflect their importance when they vote in March.
Anybody online? Okay. All right. I'll ask the board if anybody has an immediate thing, just jump up, okay, in the public. So board, any changes? And actually, can we even say that we can't? No, no changes? Okay.
Voted on that one already.
More advisory, great. Okay, moving on. Article 4, shall the school district, if Article 3 is defeated, authorize the governing body to call one special meeting at its option to address Article 3 cost items only? Again, this is for the collective bargaining agreement. Any discussion from the floor? Anything online? Okay, moving on. Article 5, shall the Jaffrey Range Cooperative School District vote to adopt the provisions of NHRSA Chapter 194D and become an open enrollment school district under the terms of the RSA, and to admit up to 150 students from outside the school district to grades kindergarten through grade 12, and to permit 0% of the resident student population eligible to enroll outside of the district in open enrollment schools or programs. So this is something that I'd like to speak to just a little bit before we'll pass it to Ruben, just for a quick little brief thing, if that's okay. So open enrollment is very much in the news right now. I hope you guys have been kind of watching the trends happening with it. And various school districts have been setting this or saying, no, we really don't need to. This isn't something that we need to have. We are trying to be proactive. And we're also hoping to somehow recoup some money, basically. We're hoping somehow that we can start, attracting students. We have excellent schools, and in doing so, start to be able to get some tuition brought in. We do have systems in place for those high-need kids. We have every school has a system so that if a student needs to leave a district and come to another district, there's ways of doing that. And there is tuition charged for that. And that's something that's been going on forever. This is more of an open opportunity, so we wouldn't have to be the high-need type of situation. There has been a lot of question about the 0%. There's a lot of question about this in general, whether it feels too restrictive, whether it's cannibalistic of other school districts. And there's the 0% is simply because we cannot budget for this. We can't say, or we're choosing not to say, let's have a warrant article adding 200,000 to a line item so that we can send kids out of district. We're choosing not to put that on. There are districts in the state that are doing that are creating a line item for open enrollment and putting a number in it for taxpayers to pay so that they can send numerous kids out of the district. We are not in a position to do that right now. There's too many unknowns in this. We are trying to be able to bring kids in and get the tuition for that without it costing the taxpayers anything. That's the goal. So when you see 0%, we're not trying to be mean to people. We're trying to be responsible with taxpayer money. We have no way to know how much this is going to cost. Every district has a different tuition cost. And generally, it lands around the $20,000 range. So this can be spent very quickly, should we try to put money into this. Ruben?
I'll just say this, that everything that Lisa said, so I won't repeat what Lisa said. I do think that this is an example of playing the long game. And so we are at the beginning of the long game. Years ago, we predicted this was going to take place. That's why we started, not why, but this is part of the reason why we started moving the direction that we were doing in a more progressive fashion. Really one of the only schools in the region, if in very, even in the state, that have made the gains that we have in our structures and so forth to be able to meet a very 21st century-like system that works for all kids. We're not there. We have to continue to grow. Now, this is the first time this has gotten a lot of traction due to a recent Supreme Court in New Hampshire decision. And so schools, a lot of schools, are wrestling with this decision. Some are going to just become open enrollment schools or hope to become open enrollment schools just to stop people from going and leaving their school, not because they want anyone at their school. We are equipped to have learners from other places come our way. We can handle that. And it's not just because we have, the space. I mean, we'd have to be careful how many people we brought into the school system because of class sizes and things like that. But if we saw that it was an attraction, we could then start to actually plan for how we would staff according to, what we could actually fit within our school buildings and so forth, and would be able to, improve our educational system even more with the number of kids, find that sweet spot. This is a part of an answer, although not immediately. You're not going to immediately get, an amazing number of individuals this first time around. Probably not. I think you would get some. This is part of an answer to someone who had asked a question earlier about, are there other avenues of gaining income or revenue? And this is a revenue gainer for the school district potentially. And so the ruling is at this point in time that if an individual comes from another school, and they're allowed to, that has to happen, another public school, and they're allowed to, that they would bring with them 80% of the sending school's tuition. Now, that could be very similar to what our tuition is. It will be very close, but 80% of that, you're still talking $16,000, $17,000, $18,000 per individual. And if they also come over and need other needs, have other needs that they have, that school district is also responsible for that cost as well. This is a world, while we live in a very, public school is a for-all type of, let's be more of a collective environment. That's how we kind of grow. This mindset is a very competitive, not collective type of mindset. We can thrive in both worlds. Part of the reason why, and this dovetails with what Forbes asked earlier, the school, the high school, middle school is speeding up its process with adding APs. They were going to do it anyway, but they have the capability of doing it right now as long as they have the support of the community. They're going to be able to offer more and make the school more attractive, and for the individuals at some point to be able to want to come to this setting. Because I do think the legislature is going to change this law at some point in time and prevent somehow individuals or school districts from not letting their kids leave, because it doesn't quite meet what they wanted in the first place. So I do think that will take some years for that to happen. We need to be ready for it, and we need to keep on building for that future. I'm going to give you an example. This is not a popular one, and I probably won't talk about it too much more, and I'll talk about it in an okay way, not upsetness. We had an opportunity last year. We got quite a bit of funding, 75% to be exact. It took a lot to get that funding given to Jaffrey Ringe Cooperative School District. We were not going to get that. We were not even on the docket for those funds. We lobbied and worked with the commissioner, the governor, and so forth for 2 years to get those funds, and we were the only ones named in the governor's budget last year for CTE. We knew then, for the grant, yes, we knew then that that was going to be an opportunity for the future to bring in individuals. It was going to be built with high interest learning as part of the model. We knew what the region didn't have and what was popular. We knew we would get tuition for that. We knew that was likely going to be paid for. We expressed that. And we expressed that, you know, it was going to happen over time, but it was going to pay for itself. It was going to be good for this community in a variety of other ways. We didn't know at the time that what we know now, that although I suspected this was going to take place down the road, it just happened a lot sooner, that now, if we had been receiving individuals and those students then want to stay, regardless of whether their school allows them to go in an open enrollment world, they have the right to. They could have stayed, and then the same 80% of tuition would have followed them as well. We're in a situation now where we're sending our kids, and so we now have to, in a sense, understand that we could have individuals go and stay elsewhere. We don't think that they will because we have a great school and we believe they like the culture of their school and want to come back. But they have that choice, and we couldn't stop them, and we would have to pay. So we want to not make that mistake again. We want to make sure that we have things ready for us to be progressive in the future and be able to be ready to gain revenue for our schools.
Thank you. Could I ask you to speak briefly to, you said some words there that triggered another question that I do hear. Could you please speak to a parent saying, well, by permitting 0%, you're restricting our choice? So could you speak to that for a second? Because that's actually not the case, but, you know, what?
Sure.
Yeah, talk about the choices we have now.
Yeah, well, this actually just helps us keep status quo. So what we have right now, this would maintain that, with the exception of what I described as the CTE issue. That's something that's, if an individual goes to, say, Hudson, because it's so far away and they have an engineering program that we don't have, we pay for the transportation, they go there, and they will likely choose to stay, and we pay for their tuition to that school during that time frame. That will happen. What the 0%, your specific question about allowing 0% out, that's not, first of all, we're talking people who are in our school. We don't have any rights over people who are going to charter schools, homeschooled, religious schools, things of that nature. That's there we have that choice right there. But for what the district is going to be able to pay for, this keeps the status quo. This just keeps things how they are, right as they are right now.
Just to, when you were talking about AP, I just want to make sure everybody understands that's advanced placement courses, and those courses are high school taught courses that also can give college credit. So those are that kind of partnership. It's pretty exciting. All right, we will start taking questions from the floor on the Article 5. I did not expect that. Did not expect that. Anybody online? Huh.
Well, Lacey.
I hope so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
really
wow.
did. I think that's why.
Wow, I hope so. I hope so. This is something that right now, there's a lot of educational bills right now going around. And especially if you watch the Education Commission for the bills. So currently, there's an open enrollment bill that has passed I'm going to mix it up and say House or Senate. It's passed one of them, so it is 25% engrossed. And the next time it'll come, I think, is February, that it'll go before, right now it's sent back to the Education Committee, but it passed through one of them, so it's 25% going. So we might, at the end by June, have an open enrollment bill of some kind. I swear on my full parents' grave that it will be unfunded, but there most likely will be something about open enrollment, coming through the legislation. Again, we're trying to be proactive, and we're trying to save the district money and see if there's any way we can get some. Okay. All right, board, any further board changes on this? I'll go through the board. Sandra, any changes to Article 5, open enrollment?
No changes to Article 5.
Chris?
No.
John?
No.
Charlie?
No.
Judy?
No.
And I say no. Thank you. Article 6, shall the school district establish a capital reserve fund under the provisions of RSA 35-1C called the Employee Benefits Capital Reserve Fund for the purpose of funding the cost of negotiated employee benefits, including but not limited to health insurance reimbursements, health insurance assessments, changes in coverage or policies chosen by employees, severance benefits, and such other negotiated benefits which are or which become obligations of the district, and further to raise and appropriate up to $25,000 to be placed in this fund, said sum to come from the June 30th, 2026 fund balance available for transfer on July 1st, 2026, and further to name the school board as agents to expend this fund. No additional tax impact. Ruben, would you speak to this? And especially speak to the no tax impact, like where would this money come from?
Sure.
Yeah.
The purpose is really less about money this time around as it is to just, again, prepare for our future. And so this is setting up a capital reserve fund that we could put money in later on as we are able and as the board seems fit to put in, whether it be asking to raise and appropriate or ask to just put in from surplus. This right here means that we would put, if we have any surplus at the end of the year, let's say we have $50,000, then we could put $25,000 in there. If we were to only have, say, $10,000 of surplus, then, $10,000 would go in. And so that's why the word up to is there. But it's really just to set up this and put some money into it so that we can consider using it later on. What inspired us to do this is certainly the realization that we were more vulnerable than we thought. And when we got, again, a $585,000 bill that we didn't budget for and no one knew about, and this was like 2 years in the making, that's a little scary. So we want to be able to mitigate against those problems in the future, but also, while we would hope that, we either get a different system or the system that is that we're currently in corrects itself and we don't have these problems again. We would like to hope that would be the case, and maybe it won't. But there are other things that take place, such as high increases. So our average rate of increase this year was 13%. That was on the low side, a little bit underneath the average of what the rates were. It could have gone up as high as 35%. And that still cost us, $500,000, that 13%. So what if we did have 26% and we were trying to pass a budget or create a budget that was reasonable for people? This would help. If we had money in there, this would be a time where we could help have that money to offset those costs when you have those spikes.
And if anybody has, if this is new, the idea that the insurance company sent this bill to us, there were 90 school districts and towns in New Hampshire that this bill was sent to, and some got much more. And it was sudden, and we are waiting still for the State Department to say, hey, what happened? And there's been a lot of back and forth. But, and we are, again, speaking tomorrow with a broker to see if there are options for us for future. But our November, late October, mid-November board meetings dealt with these quite a bit. So if you look up anything on our agenda for school care, that's the health insurance risk management pool that we use. And those agenda items are, the minutes and the video for that are in October and November. So I do invite you to go back where we discussed what happened very suddenly and what we had hoped to do about it. And then each board meeting, we've been kind of getting updates about, oh, we can find a little bit of money here. It's been a wild ride. And we were not at all the only ones hit with this. So any floor discussion for the Article 6 on the line item addition? Anybody online? Last call floor? Going once? All right, we'll go to the board. Sandra, any changes to Article 6?
No changes to Article 6.
Chris?
No.
John?
No?
Charlie?
No.
Judy? And I say no. Article 7, shall the school district vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $350,000 to be placed in the capital reserve fund created for the reconstruction and repair of real estate, buildings, and capital equipment of the district, established in 1990 and amended in 1999. Ruben?
So this is different from the last one in three ways. The content, the reason why, capital reserve fund for the buildings and capital equipment is different than for health insurance and things of that nature. But this is the reason why it's different is it is already something that we have set up, whereas we're trying to set the other one up. The other thing that's different is this is not asking for $350,000 from any surplus that might remain at the end of the year. This is asking to raise and appropriate that. So very similar to for next year, like the first year of the JRSS CBA. That would be extra beyond the budget. What we would anticipate using this for, certainly emergencies can come, and if we have emergencies, those have to be taken care of. We would like to get to a point where we are getting ahead of the game and improving on a lot of areas. We're still in the space where we are trying to make sure that we are upkeeping and maintaining. And when I say improve, I guess improving would be getting, like, for instance, new windows, but you're not going to have, like, new buildings or anything like that, or a new wing or anything like that. That type of improvement is not happening within these dollars. So we currently have just under $700,000 about $650,000 in the capital reserve fund. Now, $470,000 of that is earmarked for the reconstruction of the track. We're at that spot. We're at end of life of that track. Fortunately, it was constructed well, that the base does not have to be destroyed. So it saved us like $250,000. Nothing shifted. So we're really good with that, but it still has to be redone. So that is happening May 15th, I believe, is when it will start. And we're still working on the contract between us and the company, but we have an agreement and it's all scheduled. The rest of that money that is in there, the facilities committee with our long-term plan we've done all of the HVAC systems, and we continue to obviously upkeep those. We've now going to have the track done. Parking lots are something we need. This is not for the purpose of parking lots. There would be more money that would be needed for especially Jaffrey Grade School's parking lot and some work out here at this school. We are going to start windows at the elementary schools, middle high school. Windows are in pretty good shape. The windows on a certain part of this building and on a certain part of Jaffrey Grade School building need to be done now. And so will be done, and we do have the funds to do that this summer. If we could get this, we could do a whole lot more in both of those schools, possibly even an entire school this summer, and then we'd continue on with that. But we definitely have to do some new windows in certain areas of both schools for safety and also for insulation purposes. And so we do have quotes already for that. I am meeting with a company next week to talk about windows, options, also some flooring, because we still have some flooring issues in one of the schools, and some minor repairs, I would say, in the whole scheme of things, minor, it costs money, and also planning out some other items that we might want to look forward into the future. We're part of an organization that gets a whole, groups and groups of companies together that bid on certain types of work, and we have some people right in this area that we've developed some good partnerships with, that we have been able to use some of our funds this year for the improvement of a ramp several ramps, actually, one at the middle school, high school, making it ADA accessible. That needed to be done for quite some time. One out here at the preschool area, that's redone and that's new. And then also the entrance, the real entrance of this, the first entrance of this building that we don't use as an entrance anymore. That all had to be redone. And that was, and there's some roof work that's being done up here and next month. So we're continuing to improve, areas. There's a lot of things that we can do in other parts of the school, but $350,000 is most likely going to be windows. We are writing grants right now for locks. Yep.
And I just have a comment about Ruben's summary of our facilities improvements that are planned. Ruben, along with the help of Carrie, has been serving as our facilities director, along with the other hats that he already wears.
Carry with the help of Ruben. Yeah, it's more like that.
Yeah. And, the reason I mention that is because he is a very hardworking person, but he's also has a lot of hats. And, again, coming back to this position that we would like to see happen, the assistant superintendent, I think the board would be very happy to see Ruben move out of facilities director roles and spend his time on educational quality.
What'd you do if you weren't?
John saw me swing a hammer and was like, no, he can't do this. All right, we got to get him out. Yeah.
All right, we'll bring it to the floor. We're getting loopy already. It's not even 9.
I
We're
know,
getting loopy after
early.
9. Okay, so let's bring it to the floor. Any discussion from the floor? Any discussion online? Let's call for the floor. All right, let's bring it to the board for any changes. Sandra, do you have any changes to?
No
Article
changes.
8? We on Article 7? We're on Article 6. Nope. We're on
7.
Article 7.
7, sorry.
Sandra, any changes to Article 7? Sorry about that.
No changes to Article 7.
Thank you. Chris?
No.
John?
No.
Charlie?
No.
Judy?
No.
And I say no. Thank you. So before we go on to the, to just we have a quick blurb about petition articles. Those are not being set tonight. They have not been verified at this time. But I was hoping that we might be able to answer Carlene's question. So do we have, so Carrie, are you able to answer? Could you read what Carlene has written for the question? And it was, okay, so I'll let you go. Yep.
Okay, so for the 2026 MSDSB, and to clarify that for everybody, that's the default budget. She wanted to know, under executive administration, what do line items, and these are by function code, 2320 to 2399, 2400 to 2499, 2500 to 2599. How many personnel are represented, included in these figures, and what types of expenses do these monies cover? So the 2320 to 2399 function lines are the superintendent's office. Oh, excuse me. In the default budget, there are 3.5 full-time equivalent employees. That includes the superintendent and any other staff he has in the office. So the function includes all salaries, benefits. It also includes printing for the newsletters, any supplies, dues and fees, contractual professional development, and postage, things of that nature. A lot of those lines are overlapping within the different functions. The function 2400 to 2499 are the school office lines. Those would be the principals, any assistant principals, and any office support staff. There are 12.75 full-time equivalent employees in the default budget, And they also include stipends for any department or head coordinator positions that teachers typically fill. They would include any postage, dues and fees, phone, supplies, things of that nature, all salaries and benefits. The $2,500 to $2,599 function lines are the business office. There are 4.5 full-time equivalent employees. These positions are used to process payroll, accounts payable, oversee grants, oversee food service, oversee the trust funds. So it's my position along with 3.5 other positions. That would include all the salary and benefits. It also includes supplies, off-site storage expenses for papers we need to keep on hand for audit purposes, advertising for any public hearings and things of that nature that need to happen, phone, postage. We also have a miscellaneous line for any food service write-offs that we are required to do at the end of a year. And any contractual professional development. I don't know if I said that. So I hope that helps.
Can I ask?
Yep.
When you said those numbers, do one of those lines also include our annual audit, financial audit?
No, that is in the school board line, which is in a different section.
All right. So also think that's going to be helpful or no?
I think mentioning it is not a bad idea.
Okay, so I'm going to pass the projection to Ruben to show you, and he can tell you where this is also found online.
Yeah, so just also, it may be of interest, and
Yeah, it's
it's
just-
related.
I like
It's
visuals.
related to the question.
Yeah.
Is that if you go to the school board page, go to departments, go to business, budget information, that will bring you to this, and find us will go to this year's budget information, one for every single year. And down to the overview documents, you'll see organizational charts. And so if you click on organizational charts, while we don't believe in hierarchical leadership in our district, there is a hierarchy in how supervision and evaluation is done. So you can see a visual of the layout of the SAU right here.
And I don't know if you
And
can see
then-
it, but after each one, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yep, sure.
But it tells you how many personnel. So it'll have 0.5 for part-time personnel, 1 for a full-time. So I find that kind of helpful to see, okay, in this office area, under this structure, this is how many people, and this is their role. So,
Yeah, you'll see their names, the percentage of their position. Sometimes there's open positions, so you'll see that as vacant. Or it will direct you to a different place. So for instance, I might oversee the building principals, and it says there are 3 building principals, but they're not listed there. So it says, all right, so now you go to the building charts. And so student services, here's the middle high school. I think this is the entire middle high school right here. Conant High School organization chart. Yep. So that might be a helpful or interesting visual to look at.
all right, so, yeah, the chairs, you go for it. Oh, we have a hand. So we are on Article 7 still? No, we just finished that. So this is before we get to the petition articles? So yes, great. I'm just kind of trying to make sure I'm keeping organized, so come on up.
I just have a question about something you said in regard to her answer.
Great, so just repeat name and.
Claudia Stewart Ringe. You said something about teacher stipends. How is that different from teacher salaries?
Good question. And I'll send that to Ruben.
Yep, so their, like stipends might be, for instance, if they do something over and above what would be in their contractual obligations. So, for instance, tonight, there was, well, I don't think is a teacher, but if he were a teacher or a support staff member who would be on that stipend list, he was the junior varsity basketball coach, so he would get that. So stipends are usually like heavily used in activities, athletics, club leaders, some types of other types of leadership roles maybe that occur, like team leaders. If you were at a more traditional high school setting, you might have had department heads or something like that. So we would, our version of that would be a stipend. It's not written in the teacher's contract. Some other districts, those are all written into the teacher's contract. We have those outside, and we that's the difference. Yeah. Sometimes, like if you go through the history of stipends, you can see some that like, wow, that's quite a hefty stipend. It might be $10,000 or whatever like that. First of all, if you see something like that, always feel free to give us a call and we'll tell you what's happening. What's typically happening is that we're down a whole position that is probably, let's say $100,000 with salaries and benefits and so forth, and someone is doing that work on top of their job already and getting some extra compensation. And if they have some overlap with their job, then all right, we take that into consideration, but we try to make people whole for the work they're doing. Usually it saves the community and money during that time frame. It certainly is not what you want to do on a regular basis because it burns people out.
And all of our stipends are allocated publicly at school board meetings. So at nearly every school board meeting in the agenda, you'll see a highlighted item that says stipend list, and that lists the name of the person and the role and the amount of money. So all of them are allocated there. And most school board meetings, we're approving them. There's a lot of fluidity in them. But if you have any questions about go ahead and click through. And again, we can answer questions on specifics if possible, like as much as legally possible. Any further questions actually on any of this before we're nearly at the end, which is cool. Any questions so far? Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about two petition warrant articles that came up. Very little bit. Please understand these are not verified yet with the supervisors of the checklist. That takes a few days. And so these are not givens at this point. So you have the screen and nobody can read that.
Okay. Let me,
I'm half blind. So.
yeah, I don't usually use Google for this purpose.
Want me to take it back?
Want to take it back?
Yeah. Way better.
Great.
Yeah.
I have a touch screen, but it won't let me do it. Yeah.
Okay.
Like you and a hammer?
It's very, very similar. Very similar.
So this petition warrant article, again, not verified at this point. When we have the, we would get the verification certainly by our next school board meeting, which is not this coming Monday, but the following Monday. And that's still before the deliberative session. So, and where would we find, like, once they're verified, can people go to a place on the website to see them before? Would it be in budget documents, do you think, for the deliberative?
I believe we have the hard copies of them up on the website anyway right now. They're not verified yet, so we can't put them and say these are going to be on the warrant. But if they go there now, people could see them with signatures, I believe. Is that correct? Yep. So, and when we say verified, we have to verify that, one, there's the proper number of signatures, but also that those individuals are indeed residents here.
Well, registered voters.
Registered voters within Ringe and Jaffrey.
Yep.
Ringe or Jaffrey.
Yep. So the first one, shall we adopt the provisions of RSA 32.5E and implement a budget cap whereby the school board or budget committee shall not submit a recommended budget that is higher than $24,944 per pupil, cost times the average daily membership and residence of the school district, as of October 1st of the year immediately preceding the proposed budget year, plus an annual increase for inflation using CPI-U for the Boston, Cambridge, Newton, Mass, New Hampshire area published by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics as of October 1st, requires a 3/5 majority of the school district. So I'm sure that there will be discussion. Should this be on should we have the numbers? You need to have 25 registered voters in the town, in Jaffrey and Ringe, for a petition to pass onto the ballot. So, see that, huh? And
Except one question?
absolutely, this is a hearing, Dan. I don't know what you're thinking, but it's a hearing.
Has DRA approved this work?
Okay, come on up, do the spiel, you know.
Dan Whitney, Ringe still, has DRA approved this wording?
The Department of Revenue
Yes.
Administration, this just came to us. It has not been verified at this point.
Can I speak?
Yes, please, Carrie.
Yes, so it has been submitted to the Department of Revenue, but they have not approved it yet.
Thank you.
So we're waiting on that.
And I'm sorry for using initials. I apologize because I get annoyed about that when I'm on.
Ashley, sorry, Ringe. So am I reading that right, that they would, if this passed, this would be 24,944 times average daily membership, which you said is about 1,000 students? So that would be like $240,000 for a budget?
I would have, I'm not going to comment on this one right here very deeply because I haven't spent a lot of time with it. But I believe
24 million.
Yeah, it's about 25 million.
It's about,
Okay.
it's closer to 25 million, yeah.
So what's the average daily membership currently in Jaffrey Ringe?
About, I think it's about 11.
I believe it's yeah, I'd taken a look at this earlier, so. Can I, Lisa?
1,000.
Yeah, because I had seen this and
1074.
had the same question, so it would be about, if 1088 students, I think is what we had listed, and the budget would be approximately $27 million, if I'm reading this correctly.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, the next one was an advisory article, and again, it's online, I'm not seeing it on mine, which is great. Yeah, okay. What was?
Here we go.
What are these on here? Oh, you have yours. It's not that. Switch.
Do that one if you want, or not.
Go ahead. Thank you. And I'll ask you to read it just because.
Sure. Well, this one was a little bit more confusing because there were a couple different actual versions on this. So this one in particular is being looked at as to whether or not it can go on a warrant just because of the signatures. But there are a couple versions of this apparently. So, but it's all the same idea. So this reads, the signers of this petition warrant article believe all students have a right to privacy, that it is the responsibility of the Jaffrey Ringe School District to ensure student privacy and overall welfare. Biological truths and gender ideology are not the same, and thus we request that the Jaffrey Ringe School District immediately create a bathroom policy that requires students to use only the bathroom that corresponds to their biological sex, or to use a gender-neutral single-stall restroom. Such a policy would respect the choice of the individual students to express their beliefs in a manner that respects their personal values and affords each of them the privacy they deserve. Such a policy does not violate the Equal Protection Clause or Title IX, nor does it discriminate against transgender students. And then there were some people who signed that one. And then there was another one.
That's okay. It was adopt a policy and create a policy. So we're
Okay,
good.
adopt a policy, okay.
Yeah, but two different languages.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So those two are still being reviewed by the supervisors of the checklist to see if they have what's needed to be able to be placed on the ballot. You will hear more about that.
Again, overview documents. Just trying to sell the website.
Yeah.
So right there, go there and you can find all that information.
Okay, show that one more, how you got there?
Oh, the SAU 24, sorry, SAU 47. I don't even know what SAU 24 is. So just, I was
running.
looking at budget document fiscal year 23-24. So in fairness, there was a reason for the 24. Is that Henniker? Anyway, so SAU47.org, go to the departments and to business, go to budget information, and then you land here and under budget documents fiscal year 26-27, not to be confused with 24, we have this overview documents, which would have both of those petition warrant articles, and you can see all the information that you would like to there.
All right. So we are moving on now,
Okay.
and we are at the end of our hearing.
Yep.
And so what this looks like is an adjournment. So if there's no further comment from the floor, you are welcome to come forward still. Okay. And online, anybody need a space online? Okay, then we'll take a motion for adjournment. And nobody's leaving from these tables when you say that? We're
Right.
adjourning the hearing.
So a move to adjourn the hearing.
Thank you. Second. Thank you. Thank you, John, and thank you, Judy. And we'll do a roll call vote. Sandra?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Charlie?
Aye.
Judy? Aye. And I say aye, passes 600. School board call to order. Action items, we are going to now vote for the warrant articles to be placed on the deliberative ballot. And we will do a roll call vote.
Just for clarification for those who are out there, thank you for staying with us tonight. The school board is voting on that piece where it says recommended by the Jaffrey Ringe Cooperative School Board by a vote of, this is what they're doing to each of those warrant articles now.
So we're getting rid of the X's.
Mm-hmm. No, there you go.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So on Article 2, the operating budget. Does the board wish me to read it out loud? Would that be best? No. Okay, seeing shaking heads. Okay. So we will do a roll call vote on voting for, opposed, and abstain. Article 2, operating budget. Sandra, do you vote to add this to the?
To recommend.
To recommend. Do you vote to recommend this warrant article?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Chris?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
Judy? Yes. And I say yes, passes 600 yeses. Article 3, would you mind, if you put this, I think is helpful. Oh, that's even more helpful. Article 3, the JRSSA collective bargaining agreement. Sandra, do you recommend this?
Yes.
Chris?
I'm going to abstain.
Yes, and so thank you for abstaining. And then John?
Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
Judy? I say yes. That is 501. Article 4, CBA contingency. Sandra?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
Judy? Yes. I say yes, passes, so the yeses are 600. Article 5, open enrollment. Sandra, do you recommend this?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
And I say yes, 600. Article 6, Employee Benefits Trust Fund. Sandra, do you recommend this?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Charlie? Judy? And I say yes. That passes 510. Article 7, Building Maintenance Trust Fund. Sandra, do you recommend this?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
Judy? And I say yes. That is 600.
And then we do have to do the 2 petition warrant articles, just in case they are on there. We have to have a,
No, we don't until they're actually in there because we have a meeting before our deliberative. We can do that then.
what do we,
Can I speak?
Yes.
So the warrants have to be posted by January 26th. So I have to have the recommendations in order to post on the warrant.
All right. Petition Article 1.
Sorry.
I'm working the language.
Unless there's something I'm not aware of legally, I see Dan raising his hand, so, sorry.
That's okay. No, you're good, you're good. So I'm just working on language that, on these contingencies. Yeah, Dan, I'll take a suggestion, because these are not verified.
They're not verified. If they're not verified, at our budget hearing, we did not go through the rest of the warrant because we were still working on the default figure of the budget. The selectmen will be getting together, I believe, the night before our post as well. Yeah. First, so I'm surprised yours having to post, have time. And if you're going to vote on something like this, and you don't even know if this is an acceptable article, that's not a really good. Just saying, there's time to get the answer. They have to be able to give you an answer by the date that
we would need to schedule a board meeting early.
Are you certain that's the date for us?
Yes.
Confirmed today with Gordon.
That's the deadline to post the warrants is January 26th. So it's just, we would need information in advance of that in order for everything to be ready.
Maybe next Tuesday or Thursday. No, I mean like adding a meeting for this purpose.
Our deliberative is the 28th, is that right?
Deliberative session is February 4th.
February 4th. And we have a school board meeting on the 26th.
Mhm.
And we can't post it after that school board meeting? But why can't we approve these on the 26th?
They have to be, the last day to post the warrant is the 26th. So in order to post the warrant, we have to go to places of business that are open during the day. And if you wait until the school board meeting on the night of the 26th, we won't be able to post them that day.
And we have to all sign the warrant before it can even be posted.
So they've got to be developed.
Well,
Do a brief school board meeting earlier in the week. Some people can attend by Zoom. We should be able to get 4 of us present.
do we want to do?
All we're doing is you're just addressing the petition warrant articles. You can hold a school board meeting. Do that in a very short time.
Okay, so we'll have a special meeting? All right. All right, we will work with the board to have a special meeting, but yeah, I am not comfortable putting these forward tonight.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. Let me just check where we are with our, because we adjourned the public portion of the hearing. Warrant article recommendations, so we're still in warrant article recommendations, and I think, yeah, let's continue the public hearing portion, so yes. Please, we have somebody online who would like to offer input. Please state your name and your town.
Eleanor Alborn Sue Jaffrey. Can you hear me?
Yeah, could you repeat your name one more time? We cut off at the beginning.
Eleanor Alborn Sue Jaffrey.
Thank you, Eleanor.
Because Dan wasn't near the microphone, folks online couldn't hear that part of the dates discussion. I just wanted to let you know that.
Okay, thank you. What Dan said was he was at the Ringe Town Selectmen meeting where they were also dealing with timing of warrant article approvals and just gave a little advice on also waiting to approve articles that were not verified. So that was it. So we were just kind of at a conundrum of timing of when to get everything through. So thank you for that, Eleanor. I appreciate that.
That may be the first.
No, you may not talk out. Dan Whitney, you may not talk out. Absolutely not. Okay, so we have our warrant article recommendations, and the board will find a time to meet before the 26th, once the petition articles have been verified. And that will be posted, and we'll absolutely put it both on the website and on social media. And we are looking forward to seeing everybody. If you wouldn't mind putting up the calendar, good reminder of what's happening both for our next board meeting, which we have some policies to talk about. We have some, it's a general meeting. It won't be a big budget meeting. Tonight was that. So you're all welcome to the next general board meeting, but it's going to be talking about who's going to speak for different warrant articles and kind of what the deliberative will look like.
Yep, so we're right here. We'll have a board meeting on the 26th. It's a regular board meeting. We also, because that one was pushed off due to us having next Monday off due to holiday, we also have a board meeting, I believe. Am I correct, Carrie, that we have a board meeting that following week? Or is that not?
First Monday.
Isn't that? I don't see it here.
Well, we should have one on the 7th.
It's a budget development.
Oh, it's not on here. Okay. We do have a board meeting anyway, that first week, the first Monday in February. And then, of course, that Wednesday as well will be the deliberative session. And then everyone's taking the day off on the 10th to vote.
On March 10th.
March 10th.
Yeah. Big doings. And you remember, we have a Ringe school board position open. Would you mind putting up the dates just before we go? Just put up the date for when people can get the Ringe School Board and the Jaffrey School Board applications in. You have those there?
Yeah.
I know. I'm asking you to jump around here.
Nope, it's all right. I just have to remember.
Okay.
Right there
Okay.
in blue.
All right, so you can't file today. You can file starting Wednesday, January 21st, and you have until Friday, January 30th. And if you wish to file to be a school board member, please contact the school. It'll give you the times we're open for those forms. Okay?
You can contact the SEU 532-8122, just not extension 290.
Subtle.
Just
Brave and subtle. Wow. Okay, we will take a motion. Thank you, Judy. Motion to adjourn. Second? Thank you,
Second.
John. All right, let's go around the room. Sandra?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Charlie? Judy? Aye. And I say aye. Thank you, everybody.
Good job, Lisa.